So one of the things that I think is so striking about this, the dancer, the seasonal dancer, is that we think often of dance as being nonverbal communication, and yet here is this dancer who is quite expressive in the movement of her body, but she's also often saying quite a bit. And could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, as the years went on, I mean, she used to take on the shape of whoever I was dating or sleeping with at the time. Not necessarily intentionally. It was just one of those, it's not always a conscious thing you're doing in these things. I did possibly the first Jewish mother cartoon in newspapers, and I took pains that it not look like my mother. And I did the finished before taking it to the Voice, and I looked at it, and it looked exactly like my mother. So I tore it up, and I drew the whole thing. We drew the whole thing, and I was satisfied. And I took it down to the paper, and everybody loved it. And I went home, and I waited till Wednesday when it came out, and it came out on Wednesday, and I picked up the paper, and I was looking at my mother, which was when the phone rang. And the voice said, "What have you done to me?" And I did what I did to her, did what I've always did to her, deny everything. I mean, I'd found out years earlier that the only way to have an honest conversation with your mother is to lie. But so it's this unintentional thing, that what you get into, what you see in print, what you actually do. For years I thought the cartoons were not about me particularly, that I was using themes that I saw with my friends, that were out there in the society, but I didn't think I was doing, and tried to stay away from doing anything that was personal. I didn't want to do confessions in print before a voice audience, and I was convinced that that's what I was doing, and I scorned those people who put confessions on paper. And then looking back over the stuff years later, I look at the stuff and I say, oy vey. I had no idea.
So did you have a conversation about, when putting this exhibit together, about the political content of the work? I mean, I think one of the things that we revere about your work is your sense of politics, but here we are at a dance festival, which, did you think about that?
Well, I have to say that I had here the greatest collaborator of all time, and one of the things, the real gifts that he gave us in allowing us to put on this exhibit is that he really gave us free rein, which I very much appreciated. I wanted, of course, to be as true to his work as possible, which meant that it shouldn't, in my mind, just be all dancer pictures, that there needed to be also some serious content. And so I did try to incorporate some of the cartoons, some things that did have, and there are things that sometimes even don't involve, I'm looking back here because there is in fact one there, one of the cartoons almost to the right, where it's not a dancer person at all, and yet there's such movement in it. And of course, through some of those kinds of cartoons came the political intent as well. So I sort of felt like we could have our cake and eat it too in those ways, because we had the movement was still there, and yet also some serious content as well. But I must say we were able to come to, I think, a very good collection of things that showed, while perhaps not the entire range, because the entire range of this man is not to be contained in this one space here, but certainly shows a full range, let's say.
Well, this is perhaps not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there any way you'd bring that dancer out of retirement just for today and let us see you in action?
I thought you'd never ask. You hold my wand?
Yeah, I will hold your wand. Okay. You have another wand.
This is the hardest part of the whole. you.